Hello, everyone. This is Rick, and today I'd like to share a few reflections on my article that was recently published titled Creation and the Environment. Where does God fit into all of this? That was on May 1st, 2023, published by Baptist News Global. So originally I had this idea coming out of Earth Day, and there was a tweet that the Christian music superstar Stephen Curtis Chapman shared, where he talked about how he's never thought much about Earth Day before, but he was celebrating it this year, and he sang the song "What a Wonderful World," and it was a really beautiful song, a really beautiful rendition of it. But I thought about that, what he said about how he's never really thought much about Earth Day before, and how a lot of evangelicals have a very similar mindset that he does. They, especially during the season, there's this, as people in the spring are starting to come out with their gardens, or we've had some garden themes in, they've probably heard some garden themes in sermons about Jesus praying in the garden, or after the resurrection being mistaken for the gardener. These are Gardening is on people's minds in the spring, and so a lot of people are open, even if they may not believe in climate change and a lot of the science with that. They're open to caring for the earth, and then and yet when Earth Day comes, they feel a little weird about the whole thing because of all the politics involved and climate change science, and everything that evangelicals struggle with regarding science. And the reason why is because they really don't trust, as a group. Obviously there are exceptions, but they really, as a group, don't trust scientists. And the reason why is because scientists tend to say things like the universe isn't 6,000 years old, or there was no global flood. And so many evangelicals see that the scientific consensus on these issues is an attack on the Bible. And so, but then when they go to college and they begin to see the evidence for an ancient universe, or the evidence for evolution, or the evidence for climate change, and then all of a sudden, well, if the Bible was so clear, then they have a faith crisis. And and so what I argue in this article is that in order to heal our climate crisis, we're going to have to face our faith crisis. We're going to have to face the faith crisis that these conversations lead to. And so I share a couple stories. One was between an elderly lady and Neil deGrasse Tyson, the astrophysicist, at a gathering that I went to. And she, as Neil deGrasse Tyson was talking about the science and everything, this lady asked him, she said, "Where does God fit into all this?" And hence the title for the article. And so he shared some thoughts about how religion, and even Christianity in particular, can be held with alongside of an acceptance of modern scientific consensus. And then also recently, a megachurch pastor named Andy Stanley said a very similar thing in his sermon, where he talked about what biblical scholarship and archaeology have discovered about Genesis 1 and the surrounding creation stories of that day, and and how it's possible to be a Christian and still accept modern scientific consensus. And so Ken Ham of Answers in Genesis, the Ark Encounter, he went after him and called him, a false teacher, a wolf in sheep's clothing, all of these different really dramatic negative things. And 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 so, but evangelicals, they find themselves kind of caught in that struggle. And a big part of it, I think, comes down to how people interpret Genesis 1, where God gives humanity dominion. And and if you see that, if you interpret that dominion as a power over the earth and a power over the animals, it's this hierarchical language. And it's going to create this, and it has demonstrated throughout history, created this uh, mindset of using of the earth and animals all exist to serve humanity at the top. And there is this exploitive nature to it that can be quite destructive. But if you interpret Genesis 1 as stewardship of, or caring for, then you at least have a chance of cultivating some kind of healthier relationship with the planet. And that's not something that is completely foreign to Christian tradition. There are, specifically in the Franciscan tradition, there are examples of Saint Francis referring to the earth and all of creation as a family, with brother moon and sister water, sister death, brother sun, and all of these different relational ways of seeing the universe. And so what I wanted to do with this article was just explore the nature of the faith crisis that a lot of evangelicals struggle with, especially coming out of Earth Day and related to climate science and everything. But then also to encourage people to not ignore the issues, but to face your faith crisis. And in doing so, perhaps we could heal our climate crisis.